This is the MCRN Morrigan-Class Patrol Destroyer. Hello, and welcome to another Space Engineers video. In this video, I'm taking a look at the MCRN Morrigan-Class Patrol Destroyer. I designed this ship myself. It is a survival-ready ship, although it does have some subgrids. With subgrids, it is 738 blocks. With just the main grid, it is 274 blocks. But before we get too bogged down in the details, I'm going to give you a guided tour of the exterior. Now, starting out with the front is a pretty simple affair. You can see the main antenna, two doors for the torpedo tubes, and a single reverse thruster. You can also see a little interior light here that helps light up this area, and a forward-facing camera. If we move down toward either side, you can see there's two forward-facing spotlights, one on each side, both of them encased in a passage light. And on the bottom here, you can see there is another forward-facing camera, this one looking through a hollow LCD with artificial horizon on it. The top side is really very simple. It just has a single thruster, an LCD with the MCRN name on it, and this little half-block armor ridge. At the back is the main event, one large hydrogen thruster. You can also see a rear-facing camera looking through a transparent LCD with the artificial horizon script. Both the left and right sides are the same. First up is this subgridded small grid Gatling turret. This has to be like this in order to meet with the slope on the side. There's a single side thruster. Now looking from the bottom, we can see another small thruster, the main airlock and docking connector, another camera to help with aligning the docking, and just some armor panel and armor detailing. So that's a tour of the outside. Now let's take a look inside. So the first thing you'll notice is that this is not actually an airlock. There is only a single door. So in order to not lose any oxygen, there is a button here to pressurize and depressurize the interior before you step outside. There's also a cargo crate here so that you can quickly store and access essential equipment. The bottom deck is the crew quarters. There's a survival kit, cargo access, and beds for two. These beds are positioned directly above conveyor junctions, so it would be very simple to replace them with inset cryos. And in the floor is the gravity generator. One deck up is the CIC, and above the ladder is the single interior air vent, a programmable block running the auto LCD script, two timer blocks, another button panel, a vertical flight oriented control seat, and more importantly, a spaceflight oriented industrial cockpit. So that's a look at the interior. Now I want to go over some more of the essential specs. The maximum gravity it can fly in is 4G when in vertical orientation or 0.6 G in any other direction. It has 6 small hydrogen tanks, meaning it can fly in 1G for up to 1 hour and 22 minutes. It has 4 small cargo containers and 2 O2H2 generators. For production, it has 1 full assembler and 1 basic refinery, meaning that for the most part, the ship will be capable of resupplying and repairing using basic ores like iron, cobalt, magnesium, etc. So now before we fly around, let's hop in the cockpit and take a look at the controls. On the large display of the control seat is a toolbar guide breaking down which each key does on the toolbar. On page 1 is a camera to face forward. In the other cockpit, there is a camera to face backward, but there is no camera facing backward from this seat. Toggle the Gatlings on and off. Cycle subsystem targeting. 5 is unused. 6 is to fire torpedo tube 1. 7 is to fire torpedo tube 2. 8 and 9 is to turn on and off the beacon and antenna. Page 2 starts with the pilot startup timer block. Number 2 is the shutdown timer block. And what those both do is toggle recharge and stockpile, thrusters on and off. All the essential flight systems are turned on and off as appropriate with these 2 timer blocks. Number 3 is to control the remote control for the other flight direction from the cockpit that you're sitting in. So for this, because I'm in the vertical cockpit, it would switch to the space flight remote control. 8 and 9 is to turn on and off and switch lock the connectors. On page 3 are controls for the parachutes. Number 1 turns on and off auto deploy. Number 2 opens and closes them. 3 is the built-in repair projector. And the rest of the controls are for the torpedoes. 4 and 5 turn on and off the missile mode for the torpedoes. 6 and 7 turn on and off the early abort mode for the torpedoes. 8 and 9 reset the torpedo tubes into ready to launch. That's useful for manually reloading the torpedo tubes. You just activate that and they'll get ready to launch. Page 4 and 5 are both direct controls for the torpedo tubes. Page 4 is for tube 1. Page 5 is for tube 2. Number 1 is to open and close the door. Number 2 is to turn on and off the projector on the launcher. Number 3 is to switch lock the small connector for the torpedo launcher. And number 5 is to turn on and off the merge block for the launcher. With the torpedoes that are loaded now, if you turn off the merge block, it will activate the launch sequence, unless you turn that off. So now let's take a look at how it maneuvers. Gyro control is pretty responsive. It does only have 1 gyro, but because it is a fairly lightweight ship, that really is more than enough. The directional thrust is pretty okay. It's really nothing incredible. Obviously, the main thrust is upward. So now let's take a look at what it's like to fly it for real. I'm now seated in the spaceflight cockpit, and the 2 cameras on page 1 feature the artificial horizon, so you can look forward, backward. So let's see what it's like to fly over to this economy station. Good acceleration, 200, 300, 400. What I'll do is I will manually flip and burn using the rear camera to align. I do have the automatic LCD script set up so that I can see how long it will take to stop. And I overshot. Flying a vertical ship like this with primary thrust in one direction does take a lot of practice. So, that's a look at what it's like to fly the Morrigan. Let's see if we can find any ship to pick a fight with. We are just going to head off in this direction. And of course, while you are underway, you can get out, walk around. Okay, I'm going to take on this assert bioweapon transport. But before I do, I'm going to make sure that the torpedoes are set up the way I want them. Set my turrets to focus weapons. First I'll launch the torpedoes. And move in. There we go. The torpedoes do a good job of keeping the heat off me directly. Alright, the torpedoes are on the fruit fly. That's over. Alright. Now I'm going to circle him. Oh, I'm getting real bad playing. It's on this side. Oh, don't have to worry about that one anymore. Looks like there's still a torpedo over here. The maneuverability is my only real advantage here. Taking a lot of shots in the front. No. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this. Break off. Alright. We've controlled the spin some. Let's see if we can get out there and stop the clang. So, a quick survey of the post-combat damage. Nice little damage report. We've taken a fair amount of damage to the armor. A lot of it is just deformation. We did completely lose the right side Gatling turret. So the Morgan is clearly not a super powerful warship. Well, and there's the combat test. It didn't go exactly as planned, so I had to cut my losses on that one. Gonna make repairs here at the trade station. If you like the Morgan, check it out on the workshop. Links in the description. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Alright, time to make repairs.